Interesting. Interesting. So for those who are unfamiliar with the Menendez case, this is what you learn from the trial. Basically, on August 20th, 1989, okay, Beverly Hills PD gets a phone call from one of the Menendez brothers who basically tells him that me and my brother, Eric and Lyle Menendez, we were out at the movies. And when we came back from the movies, we came home and we found our parents shot to death in the TV room or in the den. Okay. And so that is the moment that this whole entire story and case begins. Although really it begins a lot earlier than that, but that's where it begins when it comes to the public. All right. Now, Eric and Lyle Menendez were 18 and I believe 22 at the time, or 20 at the time, early 20s, but the youngest one was 18. And they were the sons of Jose and Kitty Menendez. Jose Menendez was a huge, not huge, but a very successful and, huge depending on what market you're talking about, but very successful music producer. He was I guess you could call it mastermind behind the hugely popular Latino group Menudo, which was around from like the 80s and the 90s. Okay. And so he was a record exec in Beverly Hills. They lived in Beverly Hills. These were some rich ass people. Okay. And so when this went down, Eric and Lyle weren't even considered suspects. This is Beverly Hills, baby, okay? They not gonna be pointing no fingers at no rich-ass kids and children of, Hollywood moguls. That ain't gonna happen, right? So they weren't even considered a suspect. So they went on about their lives. They said that they believed it was a mafia hit, okay? And they went on about their lives. And during the few months after, they were spotted spending a lot of money, okay? They were out in the streets buying a lot of stuff. They bought a Ferrari or something and they were, sleeping in expensive hotels, et cetera, et cetera. And so, this kind of like turned the public tide against them. And suddenly, people started questioning like, wait a minute, these boys came home and discovered their parents dead. And now they're out here like spending money and seemingly from the outside looking in, having a grand old time. Now, to me, I'm like, they're rich kids. Rich kids are always spending money. Like, is a Ferrari, I don't know if a Ferrari is the same thing to a rich kid as it is to the rest of us. You know what I mean? Like, to you, and I don't know. I'm not saying it's whatever. I'm just saying that to me, I'm like, I need more. Give me more. But anyway, so the tide turned and they started being looked at as potential suspects. Long story short, Beverly Hills PD finally does question them and they fold immediately and they admit to the crime of having murdered their parents. Okay. And thus begins the infamous Menendez Brothers trial. They were actually in prison for quite a few years. It was about 3 years until the trial started, which is something else. I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not saying that they're innocent by any means. I'm just saying, like, if you're innocent, right, and you go to jail and you have to wait years for your trial to prove that you're innocent, it's just so, the judicial system is just so effed up in this country. But needless to say, they were in prison or jail for a few years. And then finally in, I believe, 1993, the Menendez trial began. Okay. The infamous Menendez trial began. And this is where we get these, harrowing details about the Menendez brothers' lives, according to them. This is where they start to tell their story. And this is where we get those clips, those infamous clips that were circulated all throughout the media because the judge in this case allowed cameras in the courtroom. Okay. High profile case. He allowed cameras. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know, but it happened. And so a lot of these clips of the brothers telling their story, clips of family members corroborating some of their stories circulated, and affected the public opinion. And this is where, Lyle and Eric tell us the story of what they say was essentially the hell that they were living in growing up in that house. That their father, Jose Menendez, was physically abusive, verbally abusive, mentally, emotionally, and sexually abusive. And that he was molesting them from the time that they were 6 years old. And the youngest brother, Eric, from 6 until 18 years old. Jesus Christ. Until this event. I mean, it's just, this is what they said, allegedly, according to them. Of course, we couldn't corroborate this, but this is what they said. However, as y'all know, I always believe victims, period, point blank, okay? So not only do we get these harrowing details about how abusive their father was, we also get some corroboration from some of their family members. Their uncle came out and spoke about how he witnessed physical abuse. He witnessed Jose Menendez punch little Eric Menendez in the stomach when he was 5 years old. And when the attorney asked him, was it a hard punch? He's like, it was a hard punch. It was a hard punch. He punched this little boy. And if you guys don't know, but Jose Menendez was a big man. That man was like 6'2". Okay. And not a skinny dude. And he recounts that and says that it was such a hard, and that he yokes the kid up and drags him out of the room, and he followed him, the uncle, and confronted him. And that Jose told him, I'm going to raise my kids the way I want to raise my kids. And he was like, if you don't like that, leave. And what did the uncle do? He left. I mean, family dynamics. We don't have time to go into the detail of that, but family dynamics, right? And so other people came out. Some of their cousins came out and corroborated that when they were young, that Eric and Lyle had shared with them, had confided in them about the abuse that they were experiencing, including the sexual abuse, okay? And so we have all of this go down during the trial. And we also, during the trial, learn of the motive according to Eric and Lyle. We learn what they said the motive was. And according to them, essentially, the youngest brother, Eric, was planning, he had just graduated from high school. He was planning on going to Stanford. In his mind, he's like, I'm going to Stanford. I'm getting the hell out of here, and I'm getting away from this. But Jose, his father, said, no, you are not going to Stanford. You are instead going to stay home in this house where he's saying that he's being abused. You're going to stay home and go to UCLA. And that was the fateful event that triggered everything, according to the boys. So what happens? Eric loses his fucking shit. Because in his mind, he's like, I'm fucked. I'm trapped. How the fuck am I going to get out of here? And so he does the one thing that his father told him never to do. He went and he told his older brother, Lyle, that his father had been molesting him for over a decade. He told his brother. And when he told his brother Lyle, that sparked a chain of events. Lyle went home and confronted the dad, and that led to blowout arguments. One blowout argument in which their mother, Kitty, literally told them, what do you think, I'm stupid? Letting them know that she knew all along. So the illusion that their mother was clueless was shattered in this time frame when they're arguing, getting into these big blowout fights with their parents. Okay. And so now they know, now they're in this position, everything is going down, right? And on this one particular day, they're having this blowout argument, and the father sends Eric up to his room and then closes the door of the den, which the brother said was odd. And that triggered Lyle, the eldest brother, to run up to his brother's room and say, it's time. And what does he mean by it's time? He and his brother had previously purchased shotguns because they were scared that their parents were going to kill them. And I know, most people will be like, oh, come on, that's crazy. What do you mean you were scared your parents were going to? If these boys are telling the truth, and their father was abusing them the way that they said, and if their family members who were corroborating them were telling the truth, then Y'all need to understand abuse is a whole nother level. And let's not forget, Jose Menendez is a Beverly Hills big time Hollywood music exec. What do we know is going on with a current big time Hollywood music exec? These motherfuckers are not like us, y'all.